Welcome, everyone. My name is Linda Peacock Landrum. I'm Director of Career Services at UW Green Bay. And this is our first UW System career track for spring of 2022. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. Our featured employer today is Fincantieri Marine Group, and I will be introducing our presenters in just a few moments. I would like to thank everyone who has made the UW System career tracks possible. We have a career track committee that has been working since fall of 2020 when we launched this initiative, and it's been successful now for 4 consecutive semesters, giving an opportunity for students across the UW systems to visit with a variety of Wisconsin-based employers. As a reminder, today's presentation is recorded so that you can go back and review it or possibly share with a friend who was not able to join us today. I will be placing an official registration link into the chat. I ask that you all please complete it. That does allow us to send you some information following the career track so that you're able to do that, please. All right, and it is required of UW Stevens Point students who are participating in the pro event credit. So please make sure that you do that. I will be dropping that into the chat after I introduce our presenters today. Officially, there is a website that you can look to see the upcoming career tracks for spring of 2022. You can also see the ones that were previously held in the prior 3 semesters and review those recordings so you can get some information about other Wisconsin-based employers. As a reminder, next week is the career track sponsored and hosted by UW Stout. It will be the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, the Division of Public Safety and Resource Protection. So at this point, I'd like to introduce the 3 individuals we have with Fincantieri Marine Group. We have Jan Allman, who is the Senior Vice President for Public Affairs and Community Relations, Jackie Anderson, a Senior HR Generalist, and Lauren Hepner, who is a Talent Acquisition Representative. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jan to begin the presentation. I've just put the registration link into the chat, if you would please complete that. And in a few moments, I'm also going to launch a live poll just to give our presenters an idea of who is joining us on the call today. So Jan, go ahead.
Okay, we're just getting into slide presentation here. Everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see it, Jan.
Okay, great. Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm excited to be here today. So I'm just give you a quick overview and then talk about some of our career opportunities. So just kind of highlight, we always like to start off with our mission, vision, and values. For those who may not know, Fincantieri Marine Group, we build ships for many, many customers. So we like to build, repair, and sustain maritime vessels that proudly supply and service and defend our nation and the world. And our vision is to strive to be that shipbuilder of choice in terms of safety, quality, value, and dependability by offering innovative and competitive maritime solutions tailored to our customers' needs. And our values are centered around safety, people, accountability, respect, and continuous improvement. Okay, well, let me advance. Okay. Just kind of talk a little bit about Fincantieri. So Fincantieri is the largest shipbuilder in the Western Hemisphere. It has more than 230 years of history, more than 7,000 ships built in our many years of history of building ships. We have currently 106 ships currently in our backlog and soft backlog, which means for many years to come, we're going to be building ships across the globe. We have locations across 4 continents and 18 shipyards. And one thing I think is really unique about Fincantieri, it basically builds ships in all segments. And you can see at the bottom that it has that cruise line industry. So if you've been on a cruise, probably high probability it was built by Fincantieri. We build warships, and then we do specialty products, which you can see down there in the corner. That was for NOAA and ARV is some of the examples that I can give of specialty builds. Just talk a little bit about Fincantieri Marine Group. We have 3 shipyards that we're going to talk a lot about today. One is in Marinette Marine in Marinette, Wisconsin. The other one is Bay Ship in Sturgeon Bay. And then we have Ace Marine in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And our real focus is military, government, and commercial. We focus on construction, design, repair, and sustainment. We have 3,300 direct employees. We have a 42-state supply chain. And right now we create 28,000 indirect jobs for the work that we do in our shipyards. In addition to that, we have affiliations or offices in Washington, D.C., Chesapeake, Virginia, Mayport, Florida, Miami, Florida, and Houston, Texas. Fincantieri leverages what I call a distributed production model in our system of shipyards. So we recently got designated, and you can see that in that center section is the Marine Highway designation. So we actually make products to help support ships for the U.S. Navy. So Sturgeon Bay and Green Bay, they do our aluminum. Green Bay does our aluminum center of excellence, and Sturgeon Bay actually makes modules to help support the U.S. Navy builds going on in Marinette. And so we have this huge broad portfolio that allows us to really integrate our manpower resources, best practices, and really streamline our manufacturing process. And we get to leverage what we've learned from Fincantieri across these 3 shipyards for efficiency. And then just in the corner highlights a lot of our capabilities that we do. Not only does Sturgeon Bay do a lot of work for the U.S. Navy, they also house they do a lot of the commercial aspect for new construction, as well as do the winter fleet. So we have a lot of capability in Wisconsin to meet a broad scope of customers for the Great Lakes and U.S. And some people always ask me, is like, what is your constraint to building ships? As long as they can get through the St. Lawrence Seaway, we can build it. So that's kind of our constraint. We have 3 sites, more than 3,300 workforce. Oops, I'm sorry, I skipped a slide, sorry. Oh, hang on here. I am getting a funky.
Jan, are you okay? It looks like you might have frozen. You okay now?
Yes, it froze. I don't
Okay.
see me now.
It's on slide 6.
Okay, good. So just want to talk a little bit about an overview quickly about our shipyards. So Fincantieri Marinette Marine was founded in 1942, built more than 1,500 vessels. As I said, it's customized. It builds for a strong government portfolio. It's got history of building for the U.S. Coast Guard. And we're dedicated right now for building for the U.S. Navy. But in the past, we have built icebreakers there, buoy tenders, research vessels, small surface combatants, and frigates. You know, we are leaders in engineering for concept and functional and detailed design, with the successful design studies currently going on for the U.S. Coast Guard, Navy, which includes icebreakers, patrol cutters, frigates, and unmanned surface vehicles. So a lot of activity goes on from an engineering effort focused on the needs of our customers, which is the U.S. Navy. So what are we currently building there today? We have 3 programs currently going on in Marinette. 2 of them, Lockheed Martin actually is the prime and we're the sub, which is the Littoral Combat Ship and the Multi-Mission Service Combatant. Littoral Combat Ship, we have completed 12 of 16, so we have 4 at various stages of construction. And the last LCS is slated for delivery in 2023. The Multi-Mission Service Combatant is 4 ships for the Navy, but they sell it as a foreign military sale to Saudi Arabia. And the construction currently, we have 3 MMSCs underway in the yard. and we have final MNC slated for delivery in 2026. And then the most exciting thing that's happened in recent couple of years is that we got awarded the FFG 62 program, which is the Constellation class frigate. We're currently finishing the design detail of the lead ship, and we're going to start construction this year. And the first lead ship is going to deliver in 2026. So as you can see, Marinette Marine is a hot production line, lots of activities being built for the U.S. Navy. You know, and I always like to say is that for those who don't know the LCS, it is the freedom. We truly build freedom every day to serve and protect the nation. So when you look out on the waterfront in Marinette Marine, you're going to see a lot of ships out there to support the U.S. Navy and protect our sailors. So it's a pretty exciting product to be involved in. Then I talk about Fincantieri Bay Shipbuilding. It was founded in 1902. It has 4 key business segments. It has new construction that does primary commercial vessels, which include offshore support vessels, articulated tugs and barge units, ferries, dredges, cargo ships, fishing vessels, and self-unloading bulk carriers. They also do repair of commercial and government vessels. So for those who may not know, is that for the winter fleet in the Great Lakes, that the U.S. Coast Guard has been our customer for more than 40 years. Major conversions also occur in the shipyard. As I said, they house the winter fleet, and they do repowering projects, and they also do installation of scrubbers. And then they have a whole section of the yard dedicated to building module construction to support Fincantieri Marinette Marine. So they're building modules for the LCS, Multi-Mission Service Combatant, and the frigate, which is the FFG 62 program. And then FBS is kind of our center of aluminum construction. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. The FBS program portfolio, I just kind of highlight what's going on there today, is that the Clean Canaveral, you probably saw it, that was delivered in Q4 2021. We also do cruise ship filling operation in Bay Ship for Port Canaveral. And then we have 4 LGN tanks that are currently going on for a build. And then we're also doing a self-unloading vessel, which you probably heard a little bit about the Mark Barker. I think the last one was built more than 30 years ago, and it's expected to deliver second quarter of 2022. But it's really exciting to be able to see that ship being built, because as we talked about, they haven't had a new cargo ship in 30 years. So we're excited to see that get up and operational in the Great Lakes. Then you look at new construction. They're also doing liquid natural gas bunker barge. This is with a Shell that we've partnered with, and you're going to see that operating in Port of Savannah with Royal Dutch Shell. So a lot of new exciting products are coming out of Bay Ship, in addition to supporting modules for Fincantieri Marinette Marine. And then as I talked about Ace Marine, that's kind of our aluminum center of excellence. It used to do the response medium boat. So if you see this picture in the right-hand corner, you can see those RBMs. You probably see them out and about as you go out on the Great Lakes, because the Coast Guard does monitor the shores pretty heavily. And I think it might have also been part of the rescue mission recently when they got stuck out on the ice, a couple that you saw in the paper where some people got stranded. But today, as that program retired, we went into building our aluminum center of excellence. So it's currently building modules for the LCS and Multi-Mission Service Combatant. So, and that site is optimal for small boat serial production. So a lot of our studies, because as the Multi-Mission Service Combatant retires, we're going to be looking for going back to building some of that small boat serial production. So a lot of that pre-engineering design effort coming out of Marinette Marine is really focused on giving additional business for Fincantieri Ace. So just kind of talk a little bit about what's happening. What the good news is about Fincantieri Marine Group is that we're in a large period of growth. And when they acquisitioned these shipyards, they spent more than $250 million of investment to really get them set up for serial production. And with the new frigate class coming in, it needed to expand. So these pictures in yellow are new buildings that are either being finalized or currently underway for construction. So if you look at it, buildings A, C, D, and you can't see, there's another picture further over, that those were all new construction building in 2008. And then in 2021 through 2023, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the new construction. So when you come to, and just can give you perspective, the reason why you needed that new construction, because the littoral combat ship is about 3,500 metric tons. And a frigate class FFG 62 is 7,400 metric tons. And we're going to produce 2 per year when the production gets up and running. So we need to expand the shipyard to accommodate basically doubling our workforce. So that's part of our growth that's going to be occurring. Building 34 is almost complete. We expect to have a grand opening here in spring. And then building 35 is also almost complete. It has a new panel line construction, and that's currently underway and being run off. And then we're also working on this thing called a ship lift. And basically what that ship lift does, which we're going to show in another picture, it lowers that ship into the water. So that's some of the construction, and that is slated to be completed late this year. And then building 20, that was our aluminum center of excellence, that once we get those modules from Ace Marine by barge, we would outfit them in building 20, and it would move through our construction process. However, the frigate class doesn't have a lot of aluminum, so that building's being repurposed to be our all new paint facility. So lots of construction is underway, and we're really excited about the doubling growth of our workforce as well as our operations. And then talk a little bit about, as I talked about, the Synchro Lift or ship lift. It's going to be the largest in the United States. It's basically, as I talked about, a marine elevator. I call it more of a lowrider. It's a structured steel docking platform supported by lifting hoists on each side, and it's all programmable. So they'll all lower and come back up. It has an operations room that will actually ensure synchronous lifting of the platform and maintain constant lifting and lowering speed to ensure that remains horizontal and level. So it's going to be state of the art, as I said, the largest in the United States, and that will be completed, slated at the end of this year. Then, as we talked about Bay Ship, a lot of CapEx has been occurring over there. So if you look at buildings 1, 3, and 2, that's all new construction, and it's all dedicated to support building modules for the U.S. Navy. And what they're basically, for the FFG program, they're going to build 1/3 of the ship in that shipyard. So we set up serial production, very similar to what we have at Marinette Marine, in that section of the yard. And the rest of the yard, as you can see, buildings 420, 311, et cetera, from A through E, all that is to support the new commercial construction and the winter fleet. So there's lots of things happening over there, and they're also in the state of growth because we've done this huge expansion ongoing for the Navy fleet, plus it's maintaining its current operation with all its new construction, as well as winter fleet projects. And then this just talks a little bit about what does the Bay ship footprint look like. And we have several projects underway that we anticipate that we'll be able to talk about soon, but not yet, of what will be going there after it finishes up its modules for the LCS and multi-mission. So just this, once again, I want to summarize the CapEx. In 2009, 180 million just went in to enable the LCS program. And then Fincantieri invested more than 250 million for the FFG across its 3 shipyards. What it really did is it doubled in size, and that really was the goal because, as I said, littoral combat ship is about 3,500 metric tons, and now you're building a 7,500 metric tons. So our hours grew from 3 million to more than 5 million hours to be able to put that vessel together. So that's all the expansions coming from, and you need engineers and a wide range of skills that we're going to talk about. But this is what we're talking about all the excitement that's occurring. And when we talk about these jobs, just to kind of give you a perspective, the LCS was awarded in 2008. And we're talking about finishing the last product in, I think I said 2026. So that project has gone that long. For the FFG program, the first 10 ships, just very similar to the LCS program, that's how much backlog that's created with this new program. So these are not only growth, but many years to come for stability of employment. So as I talked about, we are also the largest employer, both in Sturgeon Bay and Marinette. We're adding 1,000 new jobs across Wisconsin to meet the demand for the FFG program. We currently have 3,300 programs. This talks about up to 2019. I just got my new numbers through 2021. We have 1.9 billion paid in payroll. And with the FFG, we estimate additional impacts of 1,600 indirect jobs and 9,600 induced jobs. In addition to that, we have a broad portfolio with supply chain. For the LCS and MOC, we spent 3.8 billion paid in supply chain, which a large portion, we do believe in local development of our suppliers. 1.4 billion went in Wisconsin and 500 million in Michigan. And we're increased, and we have about 900 suppliers across 42 states, 200 in Wisconsin and 50 in Michigan. The FFG G62, we're really focused on shrinking that number of suppliers to maximize to lower our costs and maximize our buy. And we estimate it'll be across 40 states. That's still underway because it's still early days because we're still finishing the design. And we estimate that we'll spend, because we have 2 ship awards currently, we have about 780 million spent in supply chain. And we anticipate we'll still retain about 200 Wisconsin and 50 Michigan suppliers. And these are some of our suppliers, which hopefully you recognize them in Wisconsin. I'm not going to go into detail, but that just shows you that we do believe in growing our supply base. We talked already about the supply chain. We're also seeing a lot of relocation of our supply base into Wisconsin as we grow. And these are some of the most recent ones that have moved into the state of Wisconsin. So more importantly, what kind of jobs are available at the shipyards? So here's some of the skill sets that are needed. We're needing engineers, drafters, designers, modelers, manufacturing supervision, financial analysts, business management, administration, purchasing and supply chain, human resources, project management, planning, scheduling, quality assurance, accuracy control, skilled labor, IT, and digital. As I talked about, we're adding more than 1,000 employees across the enterprise, and we need that support. I highlight here about 2020 because that was kind of a tough year, but I just got the 2021. We spent more than $5.5 million in training and materials for our employees. So we do invest a lot in upskilling our employees on an annual basis. So this just kind of breaks down what is required, what do I need? And I just want to kind of highlight for the hourly workforce, this is what we focus on, that technical class and technical school certificate courses. So this is really more of the welder, ship fitter, pipe fitter, outfitter, machinery installer, electrician, maintenance handler, and painter and yard services. So that would be like a technical educational degree that we'd be looking for, where they get a certification to come work in our yard. The next slide talks more where we would like to see more of that technical degree, which many of you on this call today is what we're looking for. And that would go more towards that manufacturing management, engineering technician, quality and accuracy control, methods, process improvement, information technology, engineering, etc. So these are really where we're looking for candidates for jobs today, which the HR team is going to talk more about that. And then as we talk about Marine has opportunities for candidates with various levels of education and experience. And this is where we talked about a bachelor's degree and an associate's degree. We'd be looking for finance and accounting, purchasing, engineering, program management, human resources, planning, and contracts. So that gives you kind of the layers. We take anywhere from an associate's degree to bachelor's degrees to fill pages, this slide as well as the following slide. So that kind of gives you the level of hierarchy for degrees that we're looking for. And then I think most importantly is really around the soft skills. Is that it's important that as you go through getting your degrees, that you do hone these skills to be able to effectively be successful in no matter what career you have. So we want you to communicate effectively. We want you to have honesty and integrity. Want to be able to, you need to be a team player. You got to be adaptable and flexible with a strong work ethic. These are things that we expect our employees to be, have strong leadership potential, because, you may start off in a position, but since we are in a high rate of growth, there's also a high rate of opportunity and advancement. So these are very important skills that help you make yourself successful as you move forward in our organization and grow. And then want to highlight just some of the other things about that's a little bit unique. We are committed to green excellence. 2 of our shipyards are the first one just got the Green Marine designation. We have active projects across our shipyards to go more green. And we meet on a twice a month, I call it bi-weekly basis, just focusing on being green and what new projects we can incorporate to be more efficient and more green oriented. But we are committed to being a green company. We have actually targets established that each side is working on that really to protect our natural resources and safeguard that natural value of areas where we operate. Because, we live in the community. We want it to be, a safe environment for our employees as well as our families. And then the other thing I want to highlight too is that we're really proud of the communities that we live in and where we live and work. We've annually donated about $200K across our local communities. But I think what really that we do is that many of our people give their hearts and soul by volunteering their time to numerous organizations. And that's like Boys and Girls Club, Chamber of Commerce, food pantries, schools, emergency response, police, fire departments, hospitals, Salvation Army, Red Cross, STEM programs, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and United Way, and many, many more. And we really try to meet those needs and just kind of give you perspective. When COVID first came out, you can see in the picture that there's some masking going on. We handed out almost 120,000 masks to our host hospitals and emergency response because they had a shortage. And you can see we're actually handing out to the police department because they had a hard time getting them at the time. So it's that kind of support, making sure that we're there to meet the needs of the community and be cognizant of that and supporting them. So that's really all I have in my overview. And I want to turn over to any questions very quickly. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Jan. We do have a question that has come into the chat, and Jackie has put in the link to where your positions are listed and an overview of those as well. So the question is related to severe housing shortage in the Sturgeon Bay area. Is Fincantieri looking at how to help support its employees and new hires to find affordable housing?
So the answer is actually yes. We partner a lot with the cities for these projects, and I can talk about both Sturgeon Bay as well as Marinette. Like I just talked to the mayor about it less than a month ago, that they have signed off on a housing develop that they're doing in Sturgeon Bay that will provide additional housing. The same thing's occurring over in Marinette, because as we grow, we need housing. So both Menominee side is redeveloping their property, similar to what we're seeing over in Sturgeon Bay. They got, they're going after grant dollars to help assist with that, as well as over in the Marinette side, they have a WIDA project that's currently underway to help drive that housing shortage. But we do recognize that's been a challenge. We have activated our communities to help support that, and we're seeing that growth.
I would encourage people to please put additional questions into the chat for either Jackie, Jan, or Lauren to be able to answer. Question that I have is obviously as you're, oh, here we go. Do you mandate employees to be vaccinated against COVID-19?
I'm gonna let HR answer that.
So can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jackie.
Perfect. So that has been an interesting subject. Currently, it is not a requirement, but it's as of, I believe, February 15th, it's going to be where it would be a requirement to either be vaccinated or to have weekly testing. So we do offer the two options.
I see that we do have one person that has their hand up. Sue, go ahead and ask your question if you're not able to put it in the chat.
Hi, thank you so much for presenting. I'm a Marinette native, and I just wanted to do a shout out because Marinette Marine growing up was always a huge part of the community and always was supportive to any event or activity that was in the town. So it's great to see Marinette Marine present today. I learned a lot about all the different types of jobs that you'd be hiring. My brother used to work there years and years ago. So thank you so much for your time in presenting it. I'd encourage any of the students on the chat today to consider working for this company with a long time support in our communities, especially Green Bay, Sturgeon Bay, and Marinette. Do a shout out for Marinette. It's a great place to grow up.
Okay.
There are a couple of other questions that have come into the chat. Do you do any commercial brokerage is one of the questions.
Can they expand on that question a little bit more? Can they define what they're wanting us to know what we do commercially? Other than building ships, that's really our commercial work, but for property development, we don't do that. Okay. We do partner with other organizations for that.
All right, thank you, Jan. I think that's what they meant. I'll see if there's going to be additional information. One student is asking about a little more about the hiring process specifically for administrative and finance roles.
I'd be happy to answer that one. So when it comes to our hiring process, it doesn't matter what positions they are, but we do have an application online that people need to fill out. Once we receive those applications, then we would review against the qualifications for the roles, get you in front of the hiring team for an interview process. Sometimes that's a 1 or 2 step process. And then, we'd be making a decision after that point. What we also do is understand, flexibility of start dates for people and understand the loyalty with other positions and things like that. So we respect, whatever time frame it is that the employees are looking to get started as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that information. Another question that we have came in, does Fincantieri offer tuition reimbursement for any type of continuing education for an employee?
Yes, we do. We actually have a tuition assistance program that you can take advantage of after being with the organization for 2 years. But we have also, had some situations where we did it a little bit sooner. And that is where we offer $3,000 per year for obviously courses that would be approved through your supervisor.
I'm going to encourage people to please add additional questions into the chat. A question that I have is you talked about the long-term growth that you're experiencing, and obviously that's required with engineering and actual directly involved in the build. How do you determine the proportional growth that you need in that administrative and financial support staff as well as HR?
You want to answer or you want me to?
Go ahead, Jen.
Well, from our perspective, how we do that is that For the, it's ours is for, I'll use Marinette Marine. It is program based. All right. So for every program, that's actually part of your bid process. You get a bunch of requirements. They say, okay, for every aspect of your business, how many people would you need to support that program? So that actually goes in the proposal, and that's what actually gets awarded. So we execute our contract based off of that. So there is models that we use when we do that proposal work that allows us to tell us what is that manning that's needed in our organizations across, the enterprise, whether it's finance, program management, even manufacturing supervisors. We have a ratio associated with it that we apply.
Question that's coming in from a student: does Fincantieri hire international students?
So that is something where they would have to have a U.S. person status to work for us, because we are a federal contractor. That is a requirement just because of the sensitive material that we do work with. So that would be the only requirement. But as long as you have that U.S. person status, you are good to go.
Since Jan talked about the long-term nature of the projects, do you have a sense of what is the average tenure of employees with your shipyards?
Well, Jackie, she probably knows that better than I do.
So we have a good range of, very early talent that's been with our organization, less than a year, but we also have people with our organization that have been here for over 40 years. So it's a huge range, but we offer a lot of, knowledge and tenure from those folks that have been with us for a very long time to help with that, succession planning and growing our workforce and being able to pass that knowledge on to that early talent team that we're bringing on. And we do realize that that is a huge need for our organization right now because of the gap from the baby boomers to the next generation that's be able to support the workforce.
And I can tell you, just like for Marinette Marine, I think Sturgeon Bay is similar. There was they had programs prior to Fincantieri acquisition, so I would call it, we have two sine waves going. If anybody's a mathematician, I'm a big mathematician, I'm an engineer, all right, by trade. So we have like a sine wave for that first wave. When it was acquisition, already had an existing, we have many employees that have been with the yard more than 30 years. Some of them have been there more than 40 years. So that's where Jackie's talking about, those baby boomers are retiring. So not only are we hiring new, we have that retirement occurring. And then when we got the littoral combat ship program, we had another huge hiring wave. So you see that sine wave occur again. So we have these kind of lulls, sine wave occurring. And now you're going to see another sine wave occur in the yard where you're going to see more talent coming into the yard due to the growth.
I'm waiting to see if there's any additional questions in the chat. One thing that I'd like for you both to elaborate on, you had the wonderful slide that talked about the soft skills and the importance of those. Are there any additional sort of suggestions or concepts or elaborations you can provide to students about illustrating those soft skills during their application process?
The biggest thing that I would say is, obviously doing the application, but during your initial screening and interview process is really showing those soft skills, making sure that you are, looking up different information about the organization, asking good questions, really having that interactive, communication style when you're doing the interviews, because that can show a huge piece of what you can offer for the organization. It's not only about how you answer the questions, but it's about how you present yourself as well.
Still waiting to see if we have some additional questions. And one thing that I would like to ask, is we have some engineering individuals on the call, is I know that, there are specific uniquenesses to engineering related to shipbuilding. So for someone who doesn't have that type of experience, either in a curriculum or in an internship, what are the types of sort of additional training, certifications that you provide to those individuals so that they're competent in that area of engineering related to shipbuilding?
We offer everything from, if you're still in school, we offer an amazing internship program that, Marinette Marine itself for the engineering program is about 30 to 40 engineers every year. And during our internships, we actually offer, hands-on work that you're working side by side with those engineers on the day-to-day projects that they're working on. So it's the real world stuff that's going to be impacting, the different projects that we have going on. Now, beyond that, if you didn't get a chance to have an internship while you were, in school, we do, also look at people, who have the education or some of the background and things like that to be able to come in as early talent for those entry-level positions. And we have associate engineers or those engineer tech ones. And then, once you get on board, we do have additional hands-on training. We have, mentorships. We also have partnerships with some of the local colleges and to be able to offer some of the, program skills that we're looking for, like ship constructor, because that's not a very common program for people to get experience with during college. But that is actually an overlay to AutoCAD. So people that, have utilized AutoCAD in the past can easily transfer over their skills to the ship constructor platform. So that's just a high level overview of what we can offer even for, entry-level folks.
You mentioned internships. How broad are the internships across the organization, and are they offered in all 3 shipyards that have been mentioned?
Absolutely. So, overall, we have a very large internship program and we're open to internships for any of our departments. And, our hope is to give the good experiences for the internship and then, have people either join our team or, bring those real world experiences into other opportunities. The hope is to join our team, but also offering the skills to be able to move them forward in their careers. Perfect example for our HR talent acquisition team. We had an intern last summer that joined us and she did absolutely phenomenal. So we actually expanded her internship for when she went back to school, where she did a remote opportunity for part-time. So not only do we have those on-site internships, but once you have completed an on-site internship, then there's opportunities for, those flexible remote options as well. And, she did absolutely phenomenal. We offered her a full-time job and she actually starts in a couple of weeks. So
Very good. A question came in. Are the internships paid? And then secondly, are there internships available for current employees of Fincantieri?
Yes, we do have a paid internship program. It starts out at $15 an hour and is a tiered program. So requisite years, you would get a little bit more. And when it comes to the current employees, is it a full-time employee or
Wasn't classified? Maybe the person who asked would like to clarify if it would be an option available for a current employee.
So for the internships, those are typically for people who, have not been employed with our organization or have had previous internships with us. Current employees do have the opportunity, with the right conversations and things like that, to shadow in different departments if that's something, that they wanted to explore a different career path. So that is something that we do offer and, make it as a no obligation to transition into different departments. So that is something that could be talked about as long as, the right conversations are had.
I will also add, Jackie, you might want to talk about the international opportunity to where we have people apply to do an international assignment to learn about our other, our global business as well.
Yeah, and we do, like Jan had mentioned, we have a global rotation program, and that is something that we piloted last year. It was very successful. And what that is where somebody actually gets the opportunity to go over to Italy and shadow with basically their counterpart over in Italy and be able to learn the style over there and then be able to bring that back. And then part of that program is to put you, kind of on a performance plan to have those career advancement opportunities and be able to grow in your career, bringing back that knowledge that you had the opportunity to explore while you were over in Europe.
Another question just came through. Is there any specific timeline for the hiring process? When might a candidate hear back?
So when it comes to the hiring process, we, encourage everybody to complete their application in totality, because once that application is complete, a recruiter will review that within 48 hours. And we typically like to have that process, complete within a 2 to 3 week time frame, because, obviously it's delayed a little bit when it comes to scheduling other people's calendars. So it varies on that piece, but we try to make it as fast as possible, because we understand how competitive the workforce is and being able to get people in the door as well.
Good, thank you. Another question just came in. You had mentioned the trade workforce is experiencing dynamic growth. Is the administrative side of the house experiencing the same? And then I'll have another question after you answer that one.
So our trades is exponentially more than what our administrative side is going to be, but we are also, filling in the gaps for that support group as well, which is going to be more of your administrative side. And that's in all your departments as well. But it's not going to be anywhere near what our trade side is, because just on the trades alone, I think we're targeted to, get about 800 people by this summer. So it's a pretty huge step for us.
For the number of keels planned for the Constellation program at Fincantieri. So when we did our bid and proposal, it was for the first lead ship with an opportunity for 8. We've already been awarded the second ship of that 10 block buy, and we anticipate the additional awards for that program. So just to give you a perspective, but when you talk to the US Navy, they think this product is going to be around for many, many years to come. And there's going to be many more opportunities to build a lot more ships than the 10.
All right. We're coming up at being in 47 minutes into the call. I'll give out one last shout out for any final questions to see if they come in. While we're waiting for those, if there's any final comments that you, Jan or Jackie, would like to make, please go ahead.
Just for me, I just like to thank everyone for the opportunity for allowing us to give us the overview and talking with everyone today.
There are no final questions coming in. So thank you, Jan, Jackie, and also your colleague, Lauren, who was listening in on the call. Greatly appreciate everyone who joined us today for the career track with Fincantieri Marine Group. They have also put their contact information into the chat so that you have that. And I would remind you that the career tracks are every Wednesday at 12 noon. And the one on February 9th will be hosted by UW Stout, and it will be the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, Division of Public Safety and Resource Protection. So thank you all very much for joining us today. And for students and alumni on the call, you can reach out to your career centers for additional follow-up as needed. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure speaking with everyone.